I want to bring on Heather Ewing right now, commercial real estate expert who has no problem sleeping. Heather, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. So what if returning to the office doesn't involve an office? That's the question for 2022.
I would say if that's your desire, it's looking good for that. When you look at productivity, right, at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom line. And it's looking good. People are more productive with the hybrid office environment. And also when you look at the trend of working from home, you know, it did start several years prior to the pandemic, but of course the pandemic accelerated that. So there's always pluses and minuses to every situation. And I think it's one of those too where it's going to depend on the area that you live in. So in the larger cities, that has been more affected than some of the tertiary, secondary markets. So, of course, size has a great impact. Also, the type of business in general has an impact. And it's really affected how the businesses are operating. And they're looking to a more holistic paradigm, if you want to say, and also the movement of information and how it does affect the company and the resulting revenues.
Heather, you talk to a lot of people. Do they enjoy working from home more than going into the office? Or did you find some people that you talk to, friends, family, what have you, miss the feel of the buzz, the energy of going into the workplace?
Definitely. So again, we have the introverts and we have the extroverts, right? Some people, approximately 20%, are just saying that they're feeling lonely, that the collaboration is off. Others are really just fine being at home, within those four walls. So it's really dependent upon person, but I think it's in general, people do have that need to be around others. Also, you lose out on certain facets of that productivity and collaboration. And that's where you'll see in the marketing arenas, things like that, where really people are connecting. Some of the attorneys are able to work more easily outside of the office. So it also depends on the role within the company. When you do look at the CEOs and things like that, they did have the percent of days out of the office just because you can really zero in, but then also we're in the office significantly to lead the teams and things of that nature. So it's really dependent upon the person and also the vision of the company. You'll notice, the ITs, tech, things of that nature work really well independently. And again, going back to the creative arenas, they really do need to be in that same room.
Talking to Heather Ewing, commercial real estate expert. Heather, do you think people really are more productive working from home, or do you think it's a fallacy? I mean, you hear people say, I get so much more work done at home, but yet they're sleeping in longer, walking around in their PJs, running around doing things. Are they really more productive?
Interestingly, the numbers say that they are. Actually, that when people are in an office about 40% of the time, or there's approximately 40 minutes a day that are lost due to conversations, and that working from home, actually, there's about 10 minutes. I think some people really do focus and zero in, but then I think in totality, as time wears off, I do think there will definitely be more of a push towards the offices because it's that magic that you can't recreate on your own. And I think something that the pandemic has shown us is that there might be pluses to working remotely and the ease, but I think long term we will steer the ship towards the offices. And again, when you think of the carbon neutral footprints and the desires for that for, in 2030, it's the major hubs, it's the ease of transportation. And I think it's just a matter of time that, for the next few years, we might see this increase in remote, but I think there will be a desire and a return to the offices just for those reasons. And it'll look different, right? All of the sectors look a little bit different, but I think the open floor plan, also, that term holistic comes back up again, but genuinely seeing the employees for kind of the totality. And I think there's been kind of if you want to say a parental initiative for the businesses to make sure that people are cared for, both personally and the bottom line.
What about the big boss man, the big boss woman? I know before Omicron raised its ugly head, it seemed like you had more and more corporate CEOs, what have you, saying, you know what, I was okay with working from home, but I think we need you back in the office. I mean, there's always going to be that I need you under my thumb mentality with some bosses, right? Who are not going to trust that their employees doing what they need to be doing at home, even if the productivity is there. It's like an ego thing. Like, I need you underneath me. It's a power thing. Can bosses let go of that heading down the road?
That's really individual as well. So that's a great point. You know, there's an old school mentality, right? That you're at the office by 7:30 and you leave at 5:30, and productivity doesn't matter. It's the being in the seat per se. Whereas the newer mentality really is it's performance, it's productivity. How do you show up and what do you get done? So I think it's really going to be led company by company on that, because as we know, habits are hard to die, and certain people just really have a mentality that you need to be at the office a certain number.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, when people are working from home, Heather, sometimes they can never leave their work. I mean, they're constantly checking the emails or doing stuff at 10 o'clock at night. I know certain people who say that they want to go back to the office. They're not allowed yet, but they want to go back because they're actually working more at home. They can't get away from it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's hard to turn off when you just walk to another room and your office is there per se. So that's where they're also noticing that the virtual teams are working about almost 1.5 more days per month. So you extend that over a year, several years, and it's really a productivity gain for the companies.
All right, Heather, thanks for being on the show.
It was my pleasure. Thanks so much.